Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Friday. You've made it to the end of the week. Your reward, 3 hours of sports talk on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you are joining the program today, thanks so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. I am Dan Lucero. Joining us from parts unknown, Kearney, Nebraska, Brendan Dworzinski on the road with the #1 Division II men's basketball team in America. And Brendan, how's your voice after that dramatic Washburn overtime win at Hayes last night?
You know, going into the game, I said said to the big man above, like, keep these athletes safe, help me do a good job, help my voice get through this, because I could tell by the end of the women's game, which was a great game in its own right, I was going to have a hard time getting through the next 2 hours. Then we got an extra 5 minutes with overtime, and I hung on just long enough to get through it. And not a whole lot more. I got through post-game, talked to Coach Ballard, and then we got back to the hotel last night. Well, didn't get right back to the hotel. I had a 2.5-hour drive from Hayes to Kearney last night, but I finally got to the hotel about 1 a.m., jumped on the bed, said something. I believe I said, tennis, when I turned the TV on. And I noticed I barely had any voice left, and that's where we stand. It's doing okay. I'm back to like 70-ish%, so we're hanging in there. We'll get some tea tonight. We'll get some tea tomorrow. We'll be all right.
You got games tomorrow, right? Like you got to pace yourself for the whole weekend. It can't just be that you've got the 2 games, you just empty the tank and you're all good. You got 2 more, man.
If there was one criticism I could give myself, one critique I could give myself, sometimes you got to pace it. You don't need to be 110% for a full 40 or maybe 45 minutes of every game. But then again, that's me. Like that's just what I do. That's who I am, for better or for worse. And then it leads to what I thought was a fun broadcast last night and a crazy OT win for the men. And it also sometimes leads to a little scratchiness in the old larynx the next morning.
So in case you missed it last night, they were down, Washburn men. They were down 6 with a minute left, down 2 with 13 seconds left, and Hayes going to the line. And the Tigers missed both their free throws. Dylan Clausen made a pair with less than a second to go. Send the game to the extra session, and then the #1 team in America dominated the OT to remain undefeated. And it's not easy to go and win in that building, Gross Memorial Coliseum, no matter who you are, no matter how good Hayes is in a given year. That's a tough place to go play. That game in particular last night, that joint was jumping. That was something else last night for Washburn to be able to not only win in that building, but to come back in that building. They could have resigned themselves to their fate and said, well, nobody wins them all. But they're not ready to let go of that rope, it would appear, from last night's performance. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it was a 7-point game with 1:57 to go, something like that. And the fact that they were able to battle through it, and look, Hayes is good, man. They're not ranked, which is crazy. I don't know why the best conference in the country gets so underrated in the top 25 poll every week. But nonetheless, that's a good team. That's an incredible environment. And Washburn found a way to battle, man. It was a 7-point game with, I think it was 1:57 to go. And Washburn finds a way to win. And they struggled mightily from the line to start the game. Started the game 5 for 12 from the free throw line, 8 for 8 in the extra period. Bryson Smith was fantastic down the stretch. Dylan, who's, as far as I'm concerned, the best 5-man in Division II basketball, went 2 for 12 from the floor. Really had to struggle some days scoring the ball. Goes to the line with 9/10 of a second left, hits 2 free throws with the crowd going bananas behind him. Bachelor hits a huge 3 in OT, and he's unbelievable. We all know how good Jack is. So just a great team win. 2 more coming up tomorrow for the men and women against Kearney. The women's game is actually going to be the TV game of the week for the conference. So fired up about that. But yeah, I'm still buzzing about that one. Coach Ballard told me after the game, he said that's probably up there as one of the best wins we've had since I've been with this program now in his 9th year at Washburn. So pretty special stuff. I know we got important stuff to get to. We got some Chiefs to talk. We got Matt coming up this hour. I need to bring something up, though, about my accommodations today, if you don't mind, Dan.
I don't mind. You are in lovely Kearney, Nebraska, a town where I have spent a great deal of time in my life, in my former life, living and working in West Central Nebraska. Do share, please.
So I can't tell you exactly what hotel I'm in, what accommodations I'm in. I can tell you it is not the Nights Out by Wyndham. But I get to the room last night. Again, it's 1:00. I drove through the night. I said, I'm not leaving in the morning. The team's left today. In fact, I'm going to go talk to Coach Ballard here in a minute when he gets to his hotel. But I went last night, got some food, got on the road, got on Highway 183. And I get to the room and I walk over. I'm like, oh, the bed is a little off to the side here. Okay, that's fine. You can see it behind me over there. Some hotel rooms have pull-out couches, right? They've got a seat. Many have a chair. Some have a pull-out couch. I don't have like a true suite necessarily. Dan, can you tell me, and I know this is not a visual medium, so if you're not watching on the YouTube, I'm going to have to describe the action for you. Can you tell me why there's a straight-up casting couch in my hotel room? Like, this looks like it's about to be on Brazzers over here.
No.
What are we doing? What are we doing with this couch? This looks like it's about to be like Alexis Texas is about to walk in here. What are we doing? What in the world is this? I cannot believe they put this in this room. This is crazy. This is from like the Jenna Jameson signature collection, man. What's going on?
Not a Brazzers reference. It's the A block of the 3:00 hour, for Christ's sake.
What are we doing?
Is it comfortable?
I have not sat on it.
Okay.
I have decided. You know what they say about the chairs in hotel rooms? Like, make sure you've got extra clothes on when you sit on them because everyone, for some reason, sits on them nude. I do not want to know what has happened on this couch.
Fair enough. So Brendan is here. We're so glad to have him. We're really glad to have him along for the program today. He'll be in and out as we go along. We are with you until 6:00. We have 580 Preps coverage of high school basketball tonight, our game of the week. We will carry the second semifinal tonight from the Capital City Classic as Shawnee Heights takes on Derby at Topeka High. 7:30 scheduled tip-off. Myself and the coach, Larry Latimer, on the call at about 7:15, give or take. Just hang with us in that 7:00 hour, and we'll go on the air 20 minutes prior to tip of that second winner's bracket semifinal. The other winner's bracket semifinal, Garden City against Wichita Heights, will tip off at a scheduled time of 6:00. Tough day for the city contingent at the Capital City Classic with Seaman, Highland Park, Topeka High, all falling to defeat. So it's Shawnee Heights, the defending champion of the event, who will take on the third-ranked team in Class 6A, Derby. Should be a really, really good game. Heights is ranked 5th in 5A. They've won 10 in a row. So we expect a good game tonight. We hope you'll join us for that about 7:30 here on 580 WIBW. Still to come on the show today, there's lots. We've got a lot to talk about. As Brendan mentioned, we're going to talk a little Chiefs in this opening hour. A stat about their defense that was really eye-popping that Jesse Newell was writing about today in The Athletic. And we're going to get into the big question, basically half full or half empty with regard to a Chiefs defensive bounce back in 2026. We're going to talk more Chiefs with Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider. He'll join us at the bottom of this hour. We didn't get to talk to Matt last week because we didn't have a show on Friday, but grateful to have Matt back with us today to talk some Chiefs. He'll join us again at the bottom of this hour. He's our guest today. College basketball weekend ahead. I don't know that there's a bigger game, with all due respect to Illinois versus Nebraska on Sunday. We'll just say there's no bigger game Saturday than Kansas and BYU at Allen Fieldhouse. DP versus AJ, Darryn Peterson, AJ Dybantsa going head-to-head, a battle of the two of the best freshmen in America. Very much looking forward to that game. We'll have a preview of that. K-State plays on Sunday. They play Iowa State. There's very little to say about that game, but I'm going to tell you what a children's book I saw in the basement of my house the other day made me think and realize and made me upset about when it comes to how this year is going down for Kansas State. Now, I'll make it make sense, I promise. Plus, I've got a Royals thought today as well. I'm personally very excited about a transaction they made yesterday. We'll get into why that is in a little while, but it speaks to one thing that I'm a little nervous about for the Royals. A lot of things they've got I feel good about, but there's one nagging concern I just can't shake regarding the 2026 Royals, I'm not sure they can immediately address it. They just have to do something a little bit better. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be a part of the program. The text line, 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. And you can also jump in the live chat on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Brendan facing some wild accusations based upon his review of his couch at the, what'd you call it? The Nights Out by Wyndham.
Yeah, the Nights Out.
The Nights Out.
Which honestly would be a much more fitting name for a room that has this couch in it.
Okay. That's enough. If you're watching the show live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Hop in that live chat, say hello, interact with your hosts, and grow the 580 Sports Talk community. And, of course, you have not yet, slam that subscribe button and subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We'll do headlines. We're going to crown a January champion on What Is Wrong With You a little bit later on. We got to change my mind on second thought. Whole bunch of fun stuff on 580 Sports Talk today. But we begin with the Chiefs. A lot of talk about the offense, how the offense is going to change or not with some of the new coaching and hires on that side of the ball. Obviously, Eric Bieniemy coming back in as the offensive coordinator. Lots of change on that side of the ball. There's a new wide receivers coach and pass game coordinator. There's going to be a new running backs coach. There is a new offensive coordinator. There have been some quality control hires that have targeted that side of the ball. That pretty clearly signals a desire for change. There has not been that kind of change or disruption to the defensive coaching staff. Steve Spagnuolo's going to hang around as the defensive coordinator. I think we all agree that's good. Joe Cullen's still going to coach the linemen. Dave Merritt's still coaching the defensive backs. Not much is changing in the way of voices on the defensive staff. And it's understandable in the sense that the Chiefs defense was not bad last year. Again, you go look at the advanced numbers, you go look at the raw numbers. It was not the best defense we've seen under Steve Spagnuolo in Kansas City, but it wasn't the worst either. It was about middle of the pack, probably slightly above when you really dig into all of the advanced numbers. But there was one area where the Chiefs really struggled, and that cost them games in a season where they famously went 1-11 in one-score games, or I guess 1-10 in one-score games. And that was third down performance in late and close situations. In the fourth quarter of close games, the Chiefs' third down defense was abominable. And the numbers back that up. And where it's particularly jarring is in contrast to 2024, when the Chiefs had, in that same scenario, third down defense, fourth quarter, close game. They had the second best defensive EPA in the league in that situation in 2024, and they were number one in that spot against the pass. In 2025, they were 31st in defensive EPA in those situations. I remind you, there are 32 teams in the NFL. And against the pass, the Chiefs ranked out of 32 teams 32nd. No team in the NFL was worse defending the pass on third down in the fourth quarter of close games. Obviously, the offense had their share of clutch struggles in 2025, but those clutch spot failures from the defense being both such a departure from previous years and such a deviation from the team's usual third down performance suggests they'll likely improve in that department in 2026. That's just natural regression to the mean when you have a small sample size performance like that one. You can find a lot of information like that on both sides of the ball. And what it all ends up boiling down to is that the Chiefs didn't make plays in 2025. Like the Detroit radio host Mike Valenti ranting after that Michigan State loss to Notre Dame some 15, maybe now 20 years ago. Make plays! Make plays! The Chiefs defense did not make enough plays. Is that sequencing? Is that poor timing? Is that misfortune? Is that an extreme reversion from previous success in such situations that will level itself out in 2026? Or is your glass half empty? Do you see a team that didn't make plays because they lacked playmakers. We discussed yesterday the performance of the edge defenders for the Chiefs and how much the edge defenders struggled to win their pass rush reps, their pass rush win rates ranking among the worst in the NFL for guys like Mike Dana and Ashton Gelati and Charles Omenihu, and that's 3/4 of your edge group right there. Chiefs maybe just didn't get sacks because their edges didn't win their matchups. Maybe they didn't intercept passes because they didn't defend any passes. They were dead last in the NFL in passes defensed in 2025. They didn't recover fumbles. The other way you make a negative play, turn the ball over, recover a fumble. They didn't recover fumbles because they didn't force any fumbles. They were 30th in the NFL in fumbles forced. So, Brendan, this is my question that I'd like to discuss. Were the Chiefs' struggles in gotta make a play scenarios, for lack of a better way to put it, those third down, late and close spots, but really throughout the year in gotta have a stop type of scenarios, are those failures down to maybe just some bad timing, maybe just a little bit of bad luck, and they should expect to bounce back? Or did this defense just not have enough playmakers in 2025?
I think it's mostly the latter with some of the former. When you are as good as the Chiefs were in one-score games, maybe the word to use instead of good is fortunate, as the Chiefs were in close and one-score games in 2024, there is going to be regression. It's why the whole football world this year is convinced that next season's Bears are going to go like 8-9 or 7-10, because that's how this sport works. That's the nature of statistical probability and all that. And when you have that much luck in coin flip situations, eventually the law of large numbers, the more times things happen, the closer you're going to get to a 50-50 split when you could have those two equal potential outcomes. So this I think was the reaction. The action year was 2024, having all that incredible luck in those close games. Then the reaction is, okay, now you're back to equilibrium. I assume there is going to be a bounce back with some of that late game luck, late game fortune in the 2026 season, but in all likelihood, probably not to the degree that the Chiefs got it in 2024. So I do think there is a little bit of that. There's some bad luck, regression to the mean, however you want to phrase it, look at it, posit that information. That being said, and I was banging this drum all season, mostly for the offense, but I think it applies to the defense as well. Like, who just to answer the second part of your question, or the second option for an answer, Dan, like, who do you look at on the defense and say, yeah, that guy's a playmaker? I'm not saying good player, but a guy you say, yeah, that dude's making plays out there. Like, let me give you an example. Someone who I've been critical of, Nick Bolton. Here, I think there's a difference. Like, Nick Bolton is a solid inside linebacker, and he's going to play the run well, and he's going to give you max effort, and he is very smart. He's got a high football IQ. He's worn the green dot since he was a rookie. Like, he's got all of that. Do you think Nick Bolton's a playmaker?
I don't. No, I don't.
Yeah, like, do you look at him and say, like, okay, game on the line, it's 3rd and 3, Nick Bolton, get that football? No, I don't think you do. He's not Fred Warner. And granted, few are. Fred Warner's best linebacker in football. But you look at a player like that. Like, that's someone you say, that dude's going to make a play. Not just going to stop. He's going to make a play. Look at the secondary. How many of those guys are, Jalen Watson is a fine number 2 corner. He's a fine number 2 corner. When healthy and, right situation, all those things. But, like, do you trust him? Like, okay, jump ball, game on the line. Like, Jalen Watson going to go win that for you? Hell, like, Trent McDuffie even, and his is maybe more, spatially dependent. Is he playing in the slot? Is he playing outside? Do you have him going downhill? Because he is one of the best tackling corners, I think, in the entire NFL. Like, you don't have many of those guys. You have Chris Jones up front, but then you even look at your second best defensive lineman. I like George Karlaftis. I was higher on him this year than I know a lot of Chiefs fans were. The metrics really liked what he did this year. He got a lot of QB pressure, but and he sets the edge plenty well. But, like, does George Karlaftis make plays, or is he an above-average player? And I do think there is a difference there, and I think that's the things the Chiefs are lacking here. And part of it comes down to, when you want to talk about the coaching and the personnel side of things, Steve Spagnuolo's defense has thresholds he is not willing to bend on, or very rarely is he willing to bend on them. And the defense is built around having those kind of guys. An example of why it works and someone who didn't fit those thresholds and it has not worked out for that player, unfortunately, the K-State great, Felix Anudike-Uzomah. He did not fit in terms of, the bulk, what Spags wants in a defensive end. It has not clicked for Felix, and frankly, I'm at a point where anything you get out of him this year is just gravy. Like, it's just extra at this point, which is fine. Should he be out there and healthy and all of that? So he's built it around having these certain body types on the line, at linebacker, at safety, at cornerback, and that's great, but it's also very old school. And it, again, kind of reminiscent of this offense. Like, yeah, this stuff was incredible and inventive 10, 20, and in some cases 30 years ago, but you need to update it. That's why I loved this week that the Chiefs brought in 2 guys from college, just as quality control guys, but those are new, young guys with new ideas, with fresh ideas on the cutting edge of the game, because college is usually ahead of the NFL with these things. Bring in some new ideas. Let's hear something new. What is your thought on this old stuff we're doing? How can we tweak it? How can we freshen it up? I think that's what the Chiefs need to do from a personnel and from a coaching perspective, but just in terms of the guys on the field, I just don't. You've got a lot of B's, a lot of B minuses out there. Like, oh yeah, that's a nice. Leo Chanel's useful. I think Leo Chanel's like a playmaker. I don't think he's a game changer. I don't think that's a needle mover. I would love for Jaden Hicks to be that guy. For whatever reason, he's not right now. And you look, for comparison's sake, just to wrap this point, look at the good Chiefs defenses of the last several years. So you're looking, second half of 2019 through 2023. I think that's fair to say. And it's been different groups of guys, like Tyrann Mathieu, playmaker. That dude was a play-making player. Chris Jones, a little bit younger, but you had Frank Clark. It wasn't for 17 games during the regular season, but when you got to the postseason, he would get after the quarterback. I don't know if it was an effort thing or a mental thing or what, but he could, when called upon in the big moments, go out there and make a play. And he was also an elite run stopper on the edge as well. I just think this team is bereft of having guys like that. And in the end, you heard our good pal Jake say it for years and years and years. It's Jimmy's and Joe's over X's and O's. And you can fix some personnel things. You can tweak coaching. But at some point, you've got to have guys that are impacting the game. And look at the teams that made it to the Final Four this year, man. Rams, Seahawks, Patriots, even though they have kind of a flimsy defense, they've got guys who make plays up front. Christian Barmore, Milton Williams. Those dudes are playmakers. And that's 2 right there. The Chiefs have maybe, 1.5 on that whole defense?
Yeah, you count Chris Jones, but even he is obviously in the decline phase of his career. There's a thought that Karlaftis may have been more injury limited than we realized. Jesse Newell spoke to that piece in his article in The Athletic today, saying that George Karlaftis won the team's Ed Block Courage Award this year. Every team gets to nominate a player for that award. And him winning that award this year may have been a nod toward, that thumb injury was worse maybe than anybody realized. He just played through it. And that could account for why he wasn't a double-digit sack guy, because you count those guys as playmakers. But yes, particularly on the back end, that's where the Chiefs, I think, have been missing that playmaking element. I've got some stats that back that up we'll get to on the other side of this timeout. Matt Derrick's going to join us, our Chiefs insider. We'll get his thoughts on the whole subject. We got some KU, K-State, and Royals to get to as we go along on this program. We're jam-packed on this Friday, and we're really glad you're here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:33 on 580 Sports Talk. Matt Derrick going to join us in just a moment. Our Chiefs insider, get his thoughts on our topic du jour here to start the program. There are enough playmakers on the Chiefs defense. And to the point about the secondary in particular, I went back through and looked because that surprised me to read the stat. But anecdotally speaking, it made some sense that the Chiefs didn't feel like they were in position to intercept a lot of passes last year. And fact of the matter is they were dead last in the league in passes defensed. So I went and looked at the Pro Football Reference numbers for passes defensed. And the team leaders in that category were Trent McDuffie, who played 13 games and had 7 passes defensed, and Noel Williams, who played every game, sometimes very little in some of those 17 games. So on a snap-by-snap basis, he probably played about as many snaps as McDuffie did, probably less, and had 7 passes defensed as a rookie. Jalen Watson had 6 passes defensed in 15 games. Every season of his career, Watson's career, he has finished with exactly 6 passes defensed, according to PFREF. No matter how many games he's played, no matter how many snaps, exactly 6 passes defensed. Meanwhile, Christian Fulton, in 8 games played, 6 passes defensed. And I look at that number and think, man, the guys who were making plays on the ball didn't play a whole lot for the Chiefs in the secondary last year. And it does, like, I know Trent McDuffie is good. Like, I know he's got the Pro Bowl, the All-Pro recognition in his career. I watched him play. I know he's technically sound. He's a good blitzer. He's a really good tackler. He's a solid, well above average defensive back. He's going to get a big extension from the Chiefs or somebody. But I only got 3 picks in 4 years. And that's not because nobody ever throws at his half of the field. Like, at some point, don't you have to be a little bit more impactful on the ball if you're going to be, a long-term solution at cornerback? Because those field flipping plays, I argue, are more important than ever with the new touchback rule and the fact that kickers are automatic from 50 to 55 yards now. If you want to stop, you got to take the ball away. And the Chiefs don't do it enough.
I was actually just listening to, believe it or not, I was listening to an NFL podcast, just listening to one, though, while driving yesterday. And they were talking about this exact thing. It was the Athletic Football Show. It was Robert Mays, Bill Barnwell, Nate Tice. They were all talking about kind of the lessons learned from the teams who made it to the Final Four of this NFL season. And one of them was like, look, it's no longer, unless you're Vic Fangio and you are truly one of the greatest to ever do it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to build your defense now around let's make them have these big, long drives, because drives are shorter than ever. If you get a touchback, you're not going 80 yards anymore. Like when you started at the 20 not that long ago, a decade ago, you might only have to go 65 yards to get to the end zone. You might only need to go 20, 15 just to get into field goal range. That's taken off 2 first downs off the board that you don't have to, that an offense doesn't need to get now. So maybe aggression pays off a little bit more. And I think for the Chiefs, a big question, in my opinion, that they should be asking themselves. Now, Andy Reid's always going to handle things differently than me. I understand that. If you think your offense is going to be good enough to win you games, like on your own, they can carry you. My thought would be go for a more aggressive defense. Try to go after ball hawks, guys who might jump routes. They might get burned a little bit more often. But if you can take away possessions, you can blow teams out. And if you get burned, you give up big scores, okay, your offense is going to go back out there and you're going to win because you'll outscore them anyway. I'd rather be a little more aggressive and have some more ball hawks out there than try to give up these long, prolonged drives. That's just me, though.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get our Chiefs insiders' thoughts. Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com going to join us next here on 580 Sports Talk. We go to Kansas City on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline, and we welcome in our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, who covers the Chiefs Kingdom for ChiefsDigest.com. Joins us every Friday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, great to have you back. Missed you last week. Early thoughts, Seahawks, Patriots, Super Bowl. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously an interesting rematch, all new faces, but I can't believe that we are here at the Drake May, Sam Darnold Super Bowl.
Yeah, isn't that something?
I mean, you want to know where the pendulum has swung? It's swung to the defenses. So
yeah, it certainly did this year with all the big dogs at quarterback, either at home or out early. Pendulum swung to the defenses for sure. Anyhow, speaking of defense, that's a good jumping off point. We were just talking about this here to start this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. The Chiefs defense broadly, I think you could say, was okay in 2025. Wouldn't call it great. Would say at times it showed flashes of being good to very good, but not performing at the elite level like the defenses we saw on Championship Sunday for sure, and the defenses we're going to see in the Super Bowl. So where do you lie with how it looks for 2026? Do you think there's going to be some regression to the mean for this defense, particularly in third down situations? Or do you think this is a defense that needs an infusion of talent rather than hoping for that water to find its level a little bit on third down performance?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, they need an infusion of talent because I think you saw at least a little bit of the regression last year. And the numbers for this team, to me, I mean, you really have to kind of look at them on an average more than the aggregate numbers, because, you say, hey, this was a top 5 defense in scoring, top 10 defense in yards. I didn't think this was a top 5 or top 10 defense in anything. I mean, there was some elements in which they were okay, but a lot of the aggregate numbers were just down because the Chiefs tried to hold on to the football and drag out games and just make sure that, things didn't get too far out of hand at times, especially, the last couple of games of the season. But most of the year, the Chiefs just tried to play, sloggy football, for lack of a better word, and to maybe even make up a word. They just like to muck things up. And, as a result, I mean, there were elements of their defense that were really either average or really below average, maybe even bad in some places. And so where did they excel? They didn't have a great pass rush. They didn't really have a great secondary. There were elements of the defense that were okay, but I mean, if they're going to be better in 26, it's going to have to be because they can get more pressure on the quarterback, that they've got a secondary that they can trust. And, and this goes beyond even the questions about Trent McDuffie. I mean, last year, it didn't really feel like at any time they had a rotation of 3 corners at the top of their lineup that they felt like they really had confidence in.
Speaking of the defensive backfield, your colleague, Jesse Newell, Chiefs beat writer at The Athletic, had an article today where he pointed out, and I didn't realize this, but it's one of those stats where you see it and you think about all the Chiefs games you watched and think, well, actually, I guess this kind of makes sense. The Chiefs were dead last in the league in passes defensed this season. What's your hypothesis on how that happened? And what do you point to? Is that scheme? Is that just talent, what guys are good at, maybe not good at on the back end? How does it happen that the Chiefs ended up being dead last in the NFL in passes defensed?
Yeah, it's an excellent point, a really good question. And again, I mean, part of that I go back to is definitely that they tried to muck things up. I mean, this was a team that tried to slow things down so they didn't have to play a lot of snaps, and because they didn't want to have to play a lot of drives. They wanted games to be slow and plodding, and and the fewer snaps you play, you're gonna get some of those aggregate numbers that either look really good or really bad, and pass defense is kind of one of them. The other thing to me that kind of stands out is they don't really have a cornerback that's big time production that way. I mean, Trent McDuffie is a really good corner, but he's not a guy that's just going to create a bunch of pass defense or get some interceptions, because he is a little on the shorter side. And And once again, they were really inconsistent there. Even Jalen Watson had some inconsistencies, and and they didn't really have anybody else that kind of stepped up. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's a reasonable chance that I'm trying to think about just even guys who had decent numbers and everything. I'm not sure anybody did, but even some of like Noah Williams might have had more pass defense than some of their veterans did, because at least he's got a little bit of height to him. And I know he had like a one or two against the Eagles that were pretty crucial, and he had some against some bigger receivers. But I mean, that's part of it. I mean, they had some guys who had height but just didn't create production, and they need more of that. I mean, they need guys who can get closer to the football.
Funny you mentioned the numbers. I actually have them in front of me. The top 4 Chiefs in passes defense were, as you might expect, 4 cornerbacks: Noel Williams and Trent McDuffie with 7 apiece, and Jalen Watson and Christian Fulton with 6 apiece. And Fulton only played 8 games and ended up with only 1 fewer pass defense than McDuffie, who played in 13, and Williams, who played in all of them, and the same number as Watson, who played in 15 games. And obviously, there's more context with those numbers as far as times targeted and what kind of throws they're trying to play and things like that, I understand. But the fact that you've got names like Williams and Watson at the top, or Williams and Fulton, with the same kinds of numbers of plays on the ball as McDuffie and Watson, does that maybe suggest that there might be an increase in playing time for those two coming next year if the Chiefs are looking for a little bit more action on the football and a little bit more playmaking ability there?
Yeah, I mean, the glass half full of the end of the Chiefs season was that Christian Fulton played really, really well in those last few games, and that's the guy they signed. So hey, if they do keep Fulton, the fact that you could pair him with Noel Williams, I think that's a good sign. I mean, Noel Williams was really productive as a rookie. But then you got your couple of questions. Are you for sure going to be keeping Trent McDuffie? You're not going to trade Trent McDuffie. Are you able to re-sign Jalen Watson, or does he walk via free agency? You could end up again needing to replace a corner or two, and having at least one of those guys back, I think, would be really important. But again, at the same time, you talk about being productive and making a difference on defense and having some guys that can get the job done. I mean, was it entirely the pass rush's fault, or do you need some corners that are just a little better and maybe have a little bit more length in places? If you looked at what you got in the last couple of games of the season from Christian Fulton, maybe you're going to look at that over a real full season and say, hey, this is a guy that maybe can get you 15, 20 passes defense and give you that kind of production that you need. But there's no guarantee. And if you're talking about this defense being average and all of a sudden we're talking about running it back with everybody in the secondary, does that make sense?
Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest is our guest. He is our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk. Joins us every Friday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. The safeties this past season also did not make a lot of plays on the ball. Brian Cook had a really solid year, but didn't make a lot of plays on the ball. Jaden Hicks was supposed to be that guy, but never earned Steve Spagnuolo's trust in year number 2. How much of a problem is it for that group? Are they looking for more playmaking from the safeties in particular, or is it more of the playmaking onus on the cornerbacks? Whose responsibility is it, I guess, on the back end to create some of those negative plays and turnovers that the Chiefs really struggled to generate in 2025? Yeah,
it's a really good question because, there were elements that I think you could say that the Chiefs were reasonably happy with their safety play. I mean, the one thing that I think that they lacked was having that, make-up mistake ability that I think at least Justin Reed gave them. I don't know that anybody else kind of stepped in and gave them that completely. Cook, maybe you could argue that, and maybe Chamari Connor, you could argue that from a tackling and run game perspective, had that ability. But, it's who as amongst the safeties in the passing game was there to break up some big plays? You didn't really get that. And part of it is that I think the Chiefs were hoping that Brian Cook would be that guy, but I'm just not sure he's had the speed that he once had since that ankle injury. I still think he's a really good corner. He's just maybe not the free safety that he could have been at one point. I mean, speed's never been his dominant trait. It's always been, I think, playing more physically and reaction, but that's probably at this point in his career makes him a better strong safety than a free safety. I don't know if they truly have that guy. And that's the one thing that I think that they had there for a few years. I mean, going back, Juan Thornhill was a pretty good guy, before his big injury. He was a good guy to have on the back end, but they need that. So, I mean, if that's one piece that they could look for at safety, I think that they would need that guy that can just take part the back of the backfield that, can allow them to maybe do some things, especially, somebody, they don't have anybody right now that they kind of feel is a cover one kind of guy. And even though they play some cover one periodically, they don't trust it. But if they had that one corner that they feel like that they could put on an island on the back end, it would help Steve Spagnuolo in a lot of other places up front, and especially in some pass rush situations.
Chiefs have made a lot of additions to their coaching staff since we last spoke. Obviously, Eric Bieniemy's back as offensive coordinator. Chad O'Shea is in as the new wide receivers coach. Matt Pagan and CJ Cox have joined the staff from different college programs as quality control additions. Is there a common theme? What do you think that these additions to the coaching staff in recent days suggest about maybe the direction, particularly on offense, the Chiefs are looking towards?
It certainly looks like experience is the one biggest thing that stands out. I mean, there's individual traits, and you could talk about Eric Bieniemy and being that guy that brings more physicality and accountability that, that maybe the staff has been lacking. But, especially with the two guys that they're bringing in to potentially, and to be in the quality control guys on offense. I mean, those guys are more qualified than, the position coaches that they had, and like Todd Pinkston and Connor Embry at running back and wide receiver. I mean, everybody they're bringing in's got a lot of experience. I mean, Chad O'Shea is tons of experience coaching wide receivers at the NFL level. Obviously, EB is bringing a ton of experience. It looks from the names that have been mentioned and bantered about it at running back, those guys have tons of experience. So that seems to be at least one of those traits. I mean, sure, again, familiarity with Andy Reid does seem to be a priority, but it's not the only priority. But they're bringing in guys that it certainly feels like can go into this locker room and grab some attention, that they're guys who can come in and help to give these guys, as like Andy Reid likes to say, give them that one thing to make them better. And that's I think another thing that this team had been lacking at a couple of those positions. Because they just didn't have the experience. They'd lost some coaches over between the last maybe 5 years or so, even longer than that. I mean, you think about that wide receiver position going from David Coley, tons of experience. Greg Lewis, experience, but not as much as Coley was, but a former player. And to Connor Embry, who, ended up with like not that much playing experience and not that much coaching experience. I mean, they lost a lot of institutional knowledge, and it seems like they're trying to bring that back a little bit.
Matt Derrick covers the Kansas City Chiefs at ChiefsDigest.com. He is our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline every Friday at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour. Matt, it's always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds great, Dan. Take care, my friend.
That is Matt Derrick. We will take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back with a quick on second thought to wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. Sure, you already know where I'm going with my on second thought this week as we wrap up this 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. I let my certainty about Sam Darnold's bumminess kind of take me out of the majority of this past Seattle Seahawks season as a fan of the team. Just the certainty that I had that no matter how good that defense was or how good Jackson Smith and Jigba's numbers were, that there was a trap door at the end, and it was in a big game, in a big moment. Sam Darnold's going to throw the pick. Sam Darnold's going to make the bad play. Sam Darnold's going to cost his team the game. Just that certainty I had this whole entire time cost me a little bit of enjoyment of what is now an NFC championship winning season for my favorite NFL team. That's bad job by me. That's bad fandom by me. And if Darnold blows it in the Super Bowl, you know what? He got to the Super Bowl. The Seahawks are the Super Bowl, man. It's unbelievable. I can hardly believe it. We got a week and a half left. I can't believe it. We got some college hoops talk about in the next hour. KU-BYU preview. Plus, what is wrong with you championship next hour. 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Friday afternoon. Great to be with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Dan Lucero with you high atop Huntoon Hill in the capital city of Kansas. Brendan Dorzinski will rejoin us in a bit. He's tracking down Washburn head men's basketball coach Brett Ballard for Saturday's pregame show. He's on the road with the Bods as they make the Hayes-Kearney West Side swing in MIAA play this weekend. Washburn back in action tomorrow afternoon in Kearney, taking on the UNK Lopers. Last night, Washburn women lost to Fort Hays State. Washburn men rallied from down 7 with a minute and a half to play to force overtime and ultimately win in overtime, maintaining their undefeated record both in the MIAA and overall. So he is joining us from lovely Kearney, Nebraska. If you've never had the pleasure, well, I have. I've had the pleasure enough for both of us in Kearney. Shout out to the Arch. Shout out to the old Arch. You drive under, you know what I'm talking about. It's right outside, just east of Kearney, right there on I-80. I remember the first time I encountered that, like, what the hell is this? Why is this there? What is it for? And I, to this day, regret that I never actually went up there on the Arch to check it out. But I have driven under it many, many times. Anyway, that's where Brendan is today. He'll rejoin us here in just a little bit. Coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to talk some college hoops. Big game Saturday at the Fog. KU-BYU. I'll be there. I'll be present. So right now, today would be a good time to subscribe to our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, because we'll go live. I'll go live from the Fog after the game, and I'll have an instant reaction. And you can hang out with me, talk about the game you just watched. It's a 3:30 tip for television. College Game Day is going to be there in the morning, obviously. And then at 3:30, the Cougars and the Jayhawks will tip it off. I think it's the best game of Saturday in college basketball. If you wanted to call it the best game of the weekend, I wouldn't argue with you, though Illinois-Nebraska is a pretty big deal. Such a wild thing to say. Illinois-Nebraska might be the biggest game. That's actually Sunday afternoon. So as to avoid the argument, I will say the best game of Saturday is KU and BYU. Have some thoughts on that matchup, who and what will decide it between BYU and Kansas. BYU won last time they were at the Fog. Remember that a couple years ago. BYU won last time they were in town. So we'll get into that. We'll rerun a couple of comments that I thought were interesting regarding the matchup from CJ Moore from The Athletic, who joined us yesterday for the Big 12 basketball breakdown. In case you missed what CJ had to say, I thought he had a couple of interesting thoughts on the matchup, particularly the matchup against AJ Dybantsa, which for Kansas is going to determine how much they are able to slow down BYU's offense. Dybantsa, quiet as it's kept, not been great in Big 12 play. And I know what you're saying. Dan, he scored 43 against Utah the other night. What are you talking about? That's Utah. I can be more specific. Against the really good teams in the conference, AJ Dybantsa has just been okay. Just been all right. And a couple of times, he's flat out not been real good. He was not real good against Texas Tech. He was, I would say, not real good against Arizona. Those teams, maybe a little bit better defensively in some ways than Kansas is, but what can Kansas do to slow him down? CJ Moore had some interesting insight on that that we'll get back to here in just a little bit. K-State plays on Sunday. They play Iowa State. That's a 2 o'clock tip, I believe. I want to double check that. It might be a 1 o'clock tip, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I put them in my calendar for the broadcast start time and not the game start time because naturally it is a 1 o'clock tip at Bramlage Coliseum. My apologies. And that means pregame coverage will start at noon right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 on Sunday when the Cats take on the Clones. And there's not much real insightful to say about that matchup. Iowa State's a lot better than Kansas State and should beat them and should probably beat them pretty handily the way that Kansas State's season is unfolding. But I had a thought about Jerome Tang, and the way this season is going that really crystallized for me when I saw my wife going through some children's books in the basement. You might think that's a crazy thing to say, but I promise you, I will tie a children's book back to Jerome Tang. I promise I will do that. We'll get to that a little bit later on. And this hour, we are going to crown a champion for the month of January on What Is Wrong With You. It is that time. Our final show of the month of January. Final day of the month of January is tomorrow. February starts on Sunday. So we have got to crown a champion and anoint our first entrant into December's Tournament of Failed Champions. We are down to 2 stories today. It is Gone Postal on a Porch Pirate versus Wait, These Aren't My Jeans. 2 really strong stories. The month ended up actually being really solid. The semifinals were hotly contested yesterday. We have the championship coming up in just a little bit. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be a part of the conversation here on 580 Sports Talk. You can text the program, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also hop in the live chat on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the YouTube channel. Again, go subscribe if you have not already. Slam that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything but a click. And hang out with us in the live chat. Hang out with your fellow listeners in the live chat and chat about the show, chat about your grocery list, chat about what you're going to get up to this weekend with no football on TV. There's no football on TV. What's a sports fan to do the weekend before the Super Bowl? Other than, watch KU game Saturday. I, might watch a little bit of the K-State game on Sunday. Just, turn it on at the beginning, just see if they're up for it. Kind of doubt they are, but just to see. What else is going on this weekend for you? Talk about it in the live chat on YouTube. Tell me what you're looking forward to in a football-free weekend with the Super Bowl next Sunday. By the way, you will be able to hear Super Bowl 60, all the pregame, all the pomp and circumstance, and, of course, the game itself right here from Westwood One's coverage on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. But that's not for another week and 3 days. There's headlines. There's Change My Mind. There's more fun stuff. We got a lot left to get to today on the show. We're with you until 6. At 7:30 approximately tonight, we've got our 580 Preps game of the week, and it is a single game tonight. It is the second semifinal of this year's Capital City Classic. We'll bring you the action as the 5th-ranked team in Class 5A girls basketball, the Shawnee Heights Thunderbirds, takes on the 3rd-ranked team in Class 6A basketball, the Derby Panthers. Delicious matchup. Should be a really, really good game between 2 quality teams. Derby's only losses this year are to teams ranked 2nd in 5A and 4th in 5A. And again, Shawnee Heights is ranked 5th in 5A. So Thunderbirds are going to give everything they've got tonight. They've got something like a hometown advantage at the very least, even though the game is being played like the rest of the Capital City Classic at the Dungeon at Topeka High. Yours truly and Larry Latimer, the coach, will be on the call. Again, we expect to go with the pregame right around 7:30. That's the scheduled start time, but it's a tournament. There are 3 games before that. You know how things can happen. So just stay with us tonight here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll have the call when we get there, and when we're done at 10 o'clock, there will be a Kansas High School basketball scoreboard show with Eric Peterson, giving you updates on tournaments and other games throughout the Sunflower State, as well as updates from other broadcasters. That's all tonight. Prep basketball coverage here on 580 WIBW. Kansas and BYU tomorrow. And the obvious hook for this matchup, even before the season began, was come see 2 of the best freshmen in the country duke it out. Darryn Peterson and AJ Dybantsa. And it's been a very different season for both of those young men than we would have anticipated in some ways. And Dybantsa's been about as advertised. He's shown out in some big games. He's had some big moments. BYU is one of the top-ranked teams in the country, largely because they have a player of Dybantsa's caliber. They were ranked 13th in this week's AP top 25, one spot above Kansas. But as I mentioned, Dybantsa against the best teams in the league has had some difficulties. He was not good against Texas Tech. Monday night kind of shot his team out of the game a little bit against Arizona. Even against Kansas State, the conference opener that BYU won, Dybantsa got his points because he's such a gifted scorer. You're not going to keep him down for 40 minutes. But he turned the ball over 7 times. He's human. He's a freshman. And he is capable of moments of brilliance, but he is also capable of some struggles against some of the better defensive teams in the country. And Kansas will hope to pose some problems on that end. KU is 13th. Their defensive ranking in the KenPom is 13th. So they have played at times like an elite defense. Obviously, Darryn Peterson's freshman season has not gone according to script. No need to elaborate on that. You've been following along. You're very aware. But after missing the Kansas State game with an ankle injury that he suffered against Colorado last Tuesday, a full nearly 2 weeks to recover, sounds like Peterson's going to be good to go. Bill Self said yesterday he anticipates that Peterson will be a full go. And the last time we did see Peterson, even on that ankle, he rolled severely enough to not have gotten to play against Kansas State. He finished the Colorado game. And yes, it's a little silly to get excited about finishing a game, but that was new. That had not happened. And he played all the way through, played the game's final 11 minutes, played down the stretch, played in crunch time, made a big 3 for KU in crunch time in that road win at Boulder. So we would anticipate a restriction-free Peterson against Dybantsa, and we get the matchup we've been looking forward to all season long. The big question, what do you do about a problem like AJ Dybantsa? We had CJ Moore from The Athletic on yesterday. He joins us throughout the college basketball season on Thursdays here on 580 Sports Talk. And we had a couple of questions for CJ. I had a couple of questions for CJ about AJ Dybantsa. And what do you do to slow him down? Because he has, as I mentioned, had games where he was not prolific scoring-wise. And this was CJ Moore's answer to the first question there, which is, how have other teams made it hard on AJ Dybantsa to score? Here's CJ Moore.
Well, I think Texas Tech kind of gave the blueprint. That was his worst game all year. I thought Arizona did a similar, good job on it. You just have to keep him in front, and you have to force him to jump up and take tough shots, because he will. He's going to take them, but they have to be contested and, keep him away from inside of 5 feet. Like when he gets to the rim, he's really, really tough. When he even gets close and you cut him off at like maybe 8 feet, he's so good with his long strides of stepping around. Sometimes they kind of look like travels. Sometimes they might be travels, but he's really, really tough once he gets to the paint. So if you can keep him like 15 feet, 14, 15 feet and out and force him to take contested shots, he's not a great shooter from like anywhere beyond 17 feet because his jumper's so flat. But if he can get to like 12 and in, he's really, really tough.
So that was CJ Moore, part of what he had to say yesterday here on 580 Sports Talk. And the numbers bear that out. Dybantsa's only 31% from behind the arc this year. He's not a guy that can really burn you from deep, but if you don't guard him out there, he's a willing shooter. And you can't just the basketball term. CJ actually introduced us to this term. It's called dorking, when you just don't guard a player from out on the perimeter, like how teams treated DeJuan Harris for 4 years. Basically, if he had the ball out on the perimeter, they dorked him. They didn't guard him. They said, you know what, if you want to shoot a 3, go ahead. You can't do that with Dybantsa because he's too quick. He gets a step going downhill on you, he's going to get to the spot he really does want to shoot from. So you can't exactly do that. You can't exactly sag off of him. You have to make it hard for him to get to the interior and get to his spots, which begged a follow-up question. Who for Kansas is best equipped to do that to Dybantsa and make it hard for him to score the basketball? Here's more from CJ Moore.
Trey White's probably going to get the assignment initially, maybe Bryson. KU will switch a lot. I honestly would, when El Marco's out there, I'd maybe put El Marco on him because he's fast enough to maybe keep him in front and kind of strong enough. Like That what I do think, like the biggest concern for KU is like them going to him in the post and him just backing them KU's guards down, kind of like West Virginia was able to do. Teams have like KU's had trouble with that, just back down guys. I think KU's going to have to be like really, really heavy in the gaps, and probably have to give away some threes and just hope that they can get back and contest them and they miss. And that's where be like when AJ's willing to get off the ball and pass it, that's where he can hurt you when like Richie Saunders and Kennard Davis are making shots. And that's kind of how they got back in the game. There was a little bit sticky fingers in the first half of that Arizona game with him. And what I thought Arizona did a really good job of is like when he would start to make a move and once he started to spin, like they would just, Bradley would just leave his man and run and try to go get the ball. And he was able to do it a couple times. So I do think you have to be really, really heavy in the gaps. You just got to build a wall and try to keep him from getting to the basket.
Again, that was CJ Moore of The Athletic joining us on yesterday's edition of 580 Sports Talk, talking about the best course of action for Kansas against Dybantsa defensively. They're not a one-man show. Rob Wright can create his own offense, the point guard, the Baylor transfer. Richie Saunders is a knockdown shooter. He's played a lot of basketball. He's been through the Big 12. He's not going to be afraid to let it rip at Allen Fieldhouse. Kennard Davis is a good shooter. Like, they do have other players that can hurt you, but if you shut Dybantsa's water off, you're asking for those guys to carry a lot more of the offense. And on the road, that's always harder. That's the adage in basketball. It's as true, I think, as you go through a college regular season schedule as it is like if you watch playoff basketball in the NBA. The adage is you always get more from your secondary guys at home than you do on the road. It's a comfort level thing. Typically, teams' benches, this is where you really see it. A team's bench plays better on their home floor. They get energy, they feed off of the crowd, and then on the road it's not quite the same. It's not the same kind of energy, and it's not necessarily the same level of play. That's not a hard and fast rule, it's a generalization. And I think you can make the same generalization about the Big 12 or any competitive major college basketball league, that you feel better about getting that supplemental scoring or energy or production, however you want to phrase it, when you're at home. I think Kansas feels better about getting production from guys like Jamari McDowell and Elmarco Jackson and Bryson Tiller when they're playing at home than when they go out on the road. And again, not a hard and fast generalization, but also you see where the guys who are your studs, you're going to get what you expect to get from them. Like Darryn Peterson, you don't worry. You play him as Michael Beasley once said, he'll beat you at home, he'll beat you on the road, he'll beat you in Africa. Melvin Council's the same way. He'll beat you at home, he'll beat you on the road, he'll beat you in Africa. That's how he's wired. He'll find a way. BYU's got Dybantsa, who's that kind of guy. I don't know that Rob Wright is. I don't think that Richie Saunders is, because he's just much more of a catch and shoot guy. I like Kebaketa. I like him a lot, their starting center, but he's not going to be a guy you just throw it into and he's going to create his own offense. They need Dybantsa to be really good to beat really good teams. And when he hasn't been, they haven't beaten those teams. So that's why I think that's such a critical part of the matchup on Saturday. Brendan Drzezinski has rejoined us from lovely Kearney and the Nights Out Hotel that he is in. Brendan, how's Brett Ballard doing today? Still feeling pretty good?
Still feeling pretty good after that win. That win last night. Got our pregame interview all taken care of. You'll be able to hear that tomorrow over on our sister station, Country 1069. Great environment. Official build attendance, by the way, 3,700
wow.
for a D2 game last night. That is outrageous. But no, he's doing good. We've got plenty of good stuff coming up for tomorrow's pregame show. As for KU tomorrow, I I think this is a pretty evenly matched game. You know, when we did our tier list either last week or the week before, whenever it was, Dan, I had KU and BYU in the same group in that Final Four contender group. I think BYU's gotten a lot of hype because they're still kind of new money in college basketball, at least in this most recent era. And obviously they've got Dybantsa and they've got all this, you know, they're very talented. I think Rob Wright's really good. I love Keita. I love watching him play because he is violent, and not in like a dirty against other players way, but just the way he attacks the rim, attacks rebounds, violent player. I love watching him play. That being said, I think you could argue the biggest like X factor in this game, which of those big men is going to be on the floor more? Is it going to be Flory or is it going to be Keita? Because I think that's going to play a huge role in this game. Dybantsa is going to get his. Peterson's going to get his. I do think KU's defense can make things a little uncomfortable for BYU over the course of this game. I think you can force them into some, like, they're really good, but they're not a perfect team by any means. I mean, they've had flaws that have been exposed over the course of the season. Not that's like, oh, they're total frauds. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's not like they're some unbeatable mass. I think this is going to be a really competitive game. I'd be surprised if this one's decided by outside of 5 points or so. I think two superstars, two bigs who can be really good, you know, secondary ball handling pieces. Melvin Council on one side, Rob Wright on the other. I think these are two very equal teams. And I think being at Allen Fieldhouse certainly is going to help. I am going to predict right now there's going to be a lot of BYU fans there. I'm certain, in fact, there are going to be a lot of BYU fans in attendance for this game, and there should be. I mean, it's the best road trip in all of college basketball. But I think this is a pretty evenly matched game. I'll take KU. If you tell me that these teams are dead even, and give me the team that has the benefit at home, especially when your home court advantage is, you know, Allen Fieldhouse. You might have already gotten to this, Dan, but looking at the KenPom numbers right now, not only are KU and BYU back-to-back in the AP poll this week, they're back-to-back in the KenPom numbers. KU is 14, BYU is 15, divided or separated by exactly 21 hundredths of a point in the net efficiency rating. Like, I think this is going to be super close from the very beginning. And I think in the end, the home team is going to have the slight edge here, which makes me happy as a KU alum. Who made this schedule? Who put together a Big 12 schedule knowing you've got this one-on-one matchup, Peterson-Dybantsa, and we're only going to have it once all year at 3:30? What are we doing? What? Figure it out, Mark. Come on. This needs to be a second game.
It's the best game of the day. I mean, if nothing else, like if there's one college basketball game to watch on Saturday, it's definitely that one. So it's got that going for it. To your point, though, about the big man before we take a break here, I think Badunga and Tiller are probably the most important players for KU in this matchup. And that's where I go back to my point. Like the supplemental guys for KU, you expect them to be better at home. Just you expect them to feed off the crowd. I need both of those guys. If I'm Bill Self, if I'm Kansas, I need both Badunga and Tiller to really bow up in this game because I think Tiller's going to be important defensively, even if he doesn't guard Dybantsa for the majority of the game. I think he's going to be important as a helper and as an occasional one-on-one defender of Dybantsa. And then Badunga's got to match Keita's violence, as you put it. He's got to match that energy. He's got to match that physicality. That won't be easy. I mean, Keita's grown man physicality. Badunga doesn't always bring that. But I think at home, big game, big moment, I think he will. Kansas is a 4.5-point favorite, according to our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook up in Mayetta. I kind of feel like that's about right. And you do too, judging by your thoughts on it. About a 4 or 5 point game. KU holding on late. Peterson maybe making one more play or Council making one more play. But I think this is one KU can win. I like their chances in this one. We'll take a break here on 5 Sports Talk. We'll come back and crown a January champion on What Is Wrong With You next. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? It's our January championship on What is Wrong with You. We are down to our final 2 stories of the month, and we will enter our first member of the class of 2026 into the Tournament of Failed Champions for December. You know it's a big deal crowning a monthly champ because the gang is all here. Spencer Dupuis joins us in studio now up here on Hunt Hill. Hi, Spencer. So we're all here to pick a winner today on What is Wrong with You. Our first contestant in the January championship has gone postal on a porch pirate. 41-year-old William White, USPS driver in Florida, faces criminal charges for trying to run over a 10-year-old on a scooter because that child was holding a package that White had just delivered. Now, White's reaction was, this child is a thief. This child, very important to note, we are dealing with a child here. This child is a criminal. This child is a porch pirate. And went directly from that reaction to, I'm going to run him over in my little post office truck. That's not what they're called, but you guys get the idea. What he was
your little toy truck.
Yes.
Beep, beep.
Your little truck. You're gonna run over somebody with your little truck. No, what was actually happening was that the child had gone out to the porch to grab a package that was on his porch and realized that it wasn't for them. It was for a neighbor. So he was taking it to where it actually belonged. He was righting a wrong. He was doing William White's job better than William White was doing his job. And the response was trying to hit the kid on a scooter with his vehicle. He narrowly missed hitting the boy, but the boy did injure his ankle when he tried to get out of the way. White then grabbed the scooter from underneath his USPS vehicle and placed it on the truck and started to drive away when the boy's parents came outside to confront him. He allegedly yelled at the boy before leaving, a little bit of insult to literal injury. Several days later, White was questioned about the incident and ultimately arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, petty theft for the scooter, and criminal mischief. I just don't understand why your reaction. Like, I understand, like, porch pirates, they're a real thing. They're very frustrating. It's not fun to have something that you ordered and had delivered stolen from you. That is not a fun experience. I do not recommend it. But at the same time, like, vigilante justice is not always the way to go. And we have a perfect example of a miscarriage of vigilante justice. In the other corner,
oh man,
we have, wait, those aren't my jeans, 58-year-old Wendy Messer, who was having herself a night earlier this month. A food-related altercation. That's never good. I don't want to ever be in what is described by the news as a food-related altercation. But food-related altercations probably comprise a solid, 10% of all What is Wrong with You stories?
At least.
The altercation included allegations of battery and aggravated assault with a weapon. Deputies responded to a report of an altercation at Messer's home. One victim claimed Messer threw a plate of collard greens at her. You guys ever eaten collard greens?
I never have.
I don't. No.
It's not really for us. Not really a common food enjoyed by folks who look like us, who have the melanin content of us. But I've had them before. I've had them at a buffet before. They're pretty good. It's a delicacy.
Vance loves them.
Vance is a big fan of the YouTube live chat. That victim also claimed that Messer threatened to use a knife against her. The second victim reported fear when Messer approached her while holding a cast iron skillet in a threatening manner. I, too, would be scared if somebody was threateningly holding a skillet. The first victim stated that during the argument, Messer swung her hand close to her face, narrowly missing her nose. When deputies arrested Messer, she reportedly reached for her pocket. Upon inquiry about having any illegal substances on her, her response was, quote, maybe marijuana. Well, that was definitely probable cause. And a search of Messer revealed 2 glass pipes with residue typically associated with crack cocaine and a vial containing crack cocaine. Messer's defense was that those were not her pants and that she had been set up.
I'm holding these for someone else.
I was framed. Not like I borrowed these jeans. Like, no, somebody made me wear these pants with the drugs in them because I'm being set up.
She denied ownership of the jeans.
Denying ownership of the jeans. That's a crazy phrase. All right, gentlemen. Those are the two finalists. Who is our What Is Wrong With You champion?
Ooh.
All right. I'll go first this
Yeah.
time. I will be honest. I really want one of these to win. I really want Wait, These Aren't My Jeans to win, because I think that might be the funniest excuse we've gotten for why you're holding. We've had some good ones over time. Trust me. But These Aren't My Jeans, someone set me up, is as funny of an excuse as we've gotten. However, this woman was also on crack cocaine. Whereas the other one is just so crazy and over the top, beyond the pale, insane. And I'm going to go with going Postal on the Porch Pirate, who the kid didn't do anything wrong. The kid was doing the mail person's job better than the mail truck driver. So no, I'm going Postal. If we ever followed through on the talk of what if we had a wild card story, I would nominate the jeans, but for just our monthly champion, gotta go with going Postal.
Yeah, I'm agreeing.
That's my pick too, so it is unanimous. Again, even if the kid had been a Porch Pirate, the response wildly inappropriate. To run over someone with your car, like even if they are like you drive up on them and you say, hey, drop the package, and they probably either run or they drop the package and run, and you've made your point. Or you can call the police and say, hey, I just witnessed a theft here. You don't take matters into your own hands. We get too much of that in society. People taking matters into their own hands. Don't be a vigilante, don't be a hero, and don't run over a child with your car. That's not hard. Use your head.
Don't ever do that.
Don't ever run over a child with your... It is the official position of 580 Sports Talk.
Yep.
That running over children with your car is bad. That running over anybody with your car, in fact, is bad. But running over children with your car, worse than bad. And that's why going Postal on a Porch Pirate is our first monthly champion of the year 2026 on What Is Wrong With You. When we take a break, we'll come back and we'll tell you about a children's book that made me mad at Jerome Tang. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. 445 on 580 Sports Talk. Bit of breaking news. We'll get back around to it in headlines, but the Kansas City Royals and Vinny Pasquantino will not be going to an arbitration hearing after all. The club and the first baseman have agreed to a 2-year contract extension. They bought out the first 2 years of Vinny's arbitration. Still eligible to hit free agency after 2028, so has 1 more year of ARB, but 2-year, $11 million contract with incentives. That could take it up to $16 million. We'll get to more of that in headlines. Kansas State plays Iowa State on Sunday. I don't expect that to be particularly a pleasant experience for the Kansas State Wildcats. Iowa State is really good. They got the 7th-ranked defense in the country, according to Ken Palm. And I would expect that a team in Kansas State that already finds it really hard to score will find it borderline impossible to score against TJ Otzelberger's team. There's not much to say about the game. And likewise, I don't think there's a lot to say about the Moby Ike-Garuka situation. The team had to release a statement in that to that regard last night about why Moby had been away from the team. There's a lot of speculation out there, and I don't want to do a lot of rumor mongering or innuendo, particularly when there's only social media posts to go off of. So I don't think there's anything to do but to take the team's statement for now at face value, that Moby is away from the team, remains a member of the team, but is not personally ready to rejoin the team, whatever that means. I don't think it's real responsible to go off of social media rumor and do a lot of speculating there. So I'm going to leave that one alone. That's the editorial policy that we're going to set on that one on 580 Sports Talk until there's like some real hard news there beyond a team statement. But I do want to bring this up. So, as you know, my wife is an elementary school teacher, which means we have a lot of children's books in the house. And the other day,
You also have a small child.
I also have a 19-month-old. So the amount of books for small children has doubled. But the other day, she was going through, we got some shelves in the basement that have a bunch of these books on them. And she'll take like some of them to school to have for a while, keep a rotation in her classroom. And I happened to see one of the books, and it was Pete the Cat. You ever heard of Pete the Cat, Brendan?
I have. Yes, indeed. Yep.
Do you remember Bruce Weber invoking Pete the Cat?
You know, I actually do not recall.
So this was late in the Bruce Weber era. Okay, this was end stage Bruce Weber, but he had mentioned that he had shown his team one of the Pete the Cat videos. I guess there's like videos, songs, and there's books. And he had shown the team one of the Pete the Cat videos. And the Pete the Cat story in question was Pete the Cat and his white shoes, and how much Pete the Cat loved his white shoes. But then he stepped in some paint, and his white shoes turned red. And Pete the Cat's response was how much he loved his red shoes. I love my red shoes. And the moral of the story from Bruce Weber was that when adversity hits, when things aren't the way you expect them to be, you have to embrace it. You have to roll with it. You have to love your red shoes as much as you loved your white shoes. I don't think that's exactly how Bruce Weber said it, but I remember him telling the story on the podium. I think it was a midweek press conference before a game about Pete the Cat and telling his team about Pete the Cat and handling adversity. And of course, this is late stage. Everybody's kind of tired of Bruce Weber era basketball. So we all
pressers were getting weirder and weirder.
They were getting super weird, super defensive, and we all kind of laughed and we all kind of rolled our eyes. But at the end of the day, the message, as strangely as it was delivered, the vehicle to deliver it being very unorthodox, the message was appropriate for a coach to deliver to his players. Deal with adversity. If things aren't the way you expect them to be, embrace the way things are and roll with it. And that just reminded me of the stark contrast in Jerome Tang on the podium after their loss the other night at West Virginia talking about, well, there are 3 guys that we should have on this team, but we don't. We thought we were going to have them, and we don't. And they changed the rules on me, and they keep changing the rules on me. And when they finally get the rules straight, I'll be able to put a good team together. What message are you sending to your team when you're talking about, these aren't the guys I really wanted, or this isn't the team we really ought to have? Like, it's one thing to acknowledge that. It's quite another to acknowledge it immediately following a road loss that drops you to 1-7 in conference play. And I think Jerome Tang would do well to learn from the story of Pete the Cat and his red shoes. You know, Jerome, you don't have white shoes anymore. You don't have the team you thought you were going to have maybe in August, maybe in July. You don't have that team. You don't have the team you thought you were going to have 2 months ago. Moby's out for reasons unknown. Kamari McGriff is hurt. Abdi Bashir's hurt. You don't have the team you thought you were going to have. You got red shoes, not white shoes. Bruce Weber, for all his failings, at least embrace the idea of trying to fight through adversity. Jerome Tang is up on the podium talking about how life ain't fair, how it's not fair that my white shoes are red shoes. And I just think that to me is the biggest reason that people are checking out on Jerome Tang and the Wildcats as much as they have. It's beyond the results. It's the response to the results that, even in contrast to a guy like Bruce Weber, it's just, it doesn't feel really appropriate for me.
No, I agree with you, and I think that sort of dovetails with what we've seen just in terms of, you know, the intangible stuff, the body language, the late game effort when you know you're going to lose, those kind of things from this K-State team. You know, go back to the Sunflower Showdown and all we talked about this after the fact, but all of the reaction that, it's this team doesn't care about getting embarrassed like this because they're all mercenaries getting a paycheck. Well, those KU guys are getting a paycheck. Trust me, those KU guys are. Trey White's getting a paycheck. Melvin Council's getting a paycheck. They were living for that and really embracing the KU side of things. And I disagreed with that general kind of premise of why that's not there for this K-State team. And yeah, the whole mercenary aspect is, there's pros and cons to it, and we can talk about that at some other point. That can be off-season fodder. But more than anything, a lot of times teams take on the personality of a head coach, or at least they take on the messaging of the head coach. I'm not trying to say Jerome Tang's a bad guy or anything like that, or he's a sore loser, he sulks. I'm not trying to say that. But when the messaging is, well, we don't have the guys, or, well, we didn't like how we were disrespected by the other team, or, well, there was an officiating thing. Like, at some point, I don't think your fans want to hear that anymore.
No.
And it doesn't help to just come out and say, like, yeah, we suck. We are ass and a half. If we are a suck factor 10 on a scale of 5, like, no one wants to hear that either. But I think if you look at the other great coaches around the sport, and I'm not just talking about Self, you could go think of Roy Williams, think of Kay, think of Mark Few, think of, Rick Barnes, think of all these, Kelvin Sampson. Kelvin Sampson's a great example of ways to be constructively critical of your group and of your effort without throwing guys under the bus. I feel like that is not something not a balance Jerome Tang has been able to strike. And you end up getting you either get a bunch of excuses or you throw people under the bus completely. There's a balance there, and I don't think Tang has been able to find that with this group.
We'll take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this 4 o'clock hour with a quick Change My Mind on 580 Sports Talk. All right, real quick, changed my mind here to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. Changed my mind. All this to do about Drake May's shoulder injury is not that big a deal for the Super Bowl.
I'm going to be honest with you, brother. I haven't been on social media much today. I've been, getting some work done, talking to the coaches, coming down from that game yesterday. Genuinely had no idea there was a shoulder injury for Drake May. So I'm not going to change your mind. I'm going to say it's much ado about nothing because we have 2 weeks till the Super Bowl.
Right, and painkillers, pain medicine is a beautiful thing, but he didn't practice yesterday and didn't work out in view of the media, and then today he didn't practice at all. They said it was an illness, and I would
Here's Drake May's illness. He's sick to watch him play. It's gonna be fine. He's playing. Don't worry about it. Oh my God, another week plus.
I know. I'm trying not to let it get my hopes up for sure. I can tell you that right now. We're gonna take a break here at 580 Sports Talk for the news. We'll come back in the 5 o'clock hour. We got headlines. We got one nagging concern I can't shake about the Royals, and a look ahead to the weekend in sports on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of the day, the final hour of the week here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, joined by the magic of technology, and joining you here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our live video streaming channels, WIBW News on Facebook, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Like and subscribe, folks. Like and subscribe. With you until 6 o'clock tonight. Again, tonight at about 7:30, and I say about because it's part of a tournament, so all times are approximate. But we will have a 580 Preps game of the week for you from the Capital City Classic. We will have the second of two winners bracket semifinals tonight. Girls action between Shawnee Heights and Derby. Should be a great game. Shawnee Heights ranked 5th in Class 5A. Derby ranked 3rd in Class 6A, the 6A runners-up from last year. I'll have the call with the coach, Larry Latimer, joining me from the dungeon at Topeka High. Again, we'll go on the air about 20 minutes prior to the tip-off of that game right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So as I join you from the Hunt
Glad to hear the
studio,
coach back.
Yes, Larry
That's
Latimer's
fantastic.
back tonight. Yeah, we're really excited to have Lat back.
Adding
tonight.
a little class to these broadcasts, finally.
Yeah, and ball knowledge that the broadcast desperately needs. Brendan Dworzinski joining us.
Make sure, by the way, that you tell Lat I mentioned the 3-stop drill last night during the Washburn game. There's about 2 minutes left. I know that Lat loves to shout out, be it stop and a bucket, stop and a bucket, stop and a bucket. I know Lat loves to point that out. Classic drill he used to run, just basketball coaching classic drill right there. So make sure that he knows I called that out and gave him a shout out during the Washburn game last night. Said it with about 2 minutes left. Odds figured out a way to win.
They
Just
did.
saying.
They did. They got enough stops down the stretch. Speaking of the Ichabods, that's Brendan is on their trail. He is in Kearney, Nebraska as we speak. Washburn basketball tomorrow against the Lopers of UNK. Brendan, tell the people where and when they can hear your broadcast.
You will be able to hear my broadcast coming up tomorrow, 2 o'clock women's start time. They pushed it back because the women are actually the TV game of the week in the MIAA. So if you are listening from the greater Kansas City area to our east and your cable provider includes 38 The Spot, you'll be able to watch the game on TV. You will not hear me on that broadcast, but you can watch the game. Sync it up. That's easy. That's cake these days. But if you want to listen to the radio broadcast, 2 o'clock women's tip-off, men right around 4 o'clock. Our pregame coverage begins at 1:45, and you can listen over on our sister station, Country 106.9. Women looking for a bounce back. They've won 4 of their last 5. They lost last night to the 5th-ranked team in the country in Hayes. In fact, Washburn is the only team that's beaten Hayes this year. They're now 19-1. Men won just an absolute instant classic of a game, 21-0 for the second consecutive year. They got to 23-0 last season. So back-to-back years at 21-0. They'll put it on the line tomorrow against a Kearney team that, I'll tell you what, their record's not great. They're back half of the MIAA, just 10-12 overall. They can score it. They got a great point guard in Bryant Hill, Kendrick Gilbert, who's brother, we remember from Iowa State and UNLV, Keyshawn Gilbert, really talented scorer as well. So it'll be a test, no doubt about that, coming up tomorrow. But you can hear all that action over on Country 106.9.
Hope you'll join Brendan for that on Saturday if you are out and about, or even if you're not, and keep track of those Ichabods. The women playing some good ball of late. The men, of course, number 1 in the country. How do you plan to spend your evening in lovely Kearney, Nebraska? Kearney, America, if you will.
So, a few things work-wise need to get done. Get some audio edited for our pregame show tomorrow. I've got to get my charts done, get all my info ready and updated and all of that. So have a little game prep to get done. In addition to that, I found out that the Tri-City Storm USHL team, USHL, is that what it is?
Yes, United States Hockey League. Tier 1
they are
junior hockey.
Yeah, they're in town. They are, and the arena is not even 5 minutes from where my hotel is. So they puck drop at 7:05. I'm thinking I might head over there. I might grab a bite and head over there. Tickets are like not even $20. So go catch at least a couple of periods where if you get some work in, might try some local eateries here in town. Stop by, get something quick to eat. So I'll make the most of it.
Yeah, the Tri-City Storm, for those, I don't know if I've told that story on the air, but I worked for 4 years out in North Platte, Nebraska, which is about 100 miles west of Kearney. And in the process of my time working there and hosting sports talk radio in west central Nebraska, I struck up a friendship with the Tri-City Storm radio broadcaster at the time, a gentleman named Skip Barry. And was invited to come and see some games. And that invitation became an invitation to join Skip on some radio broadcasts. And so it came to pass that I actually filled in for Skip doing hockey play-by-play one afternoon. This would have been in 2012. I did a Storm home game. They were playing the Fighting Saints of Dubuque. And their star player ended up being a longtime NHLer. I think he's still in the league. Zemgus Girgensons he used to play for Buffalo. I don't know who he's with now. But
Zemgus.
Yeah.
The Gerg man.
Zemgus Girgensons. But anyway, here's my story of doing hockey play-by-play. In junior hockey, you got to do a lot when you're the play-by-play guy. You got to engineer your own broadcast, naturally. That's nothing new. That's something that we're accustomed to doing. But you're also responsible when there's a goal. You've got to get the scorer and the assists, both assists. You got to get them down and get them to game ops so they can get it to the PA announcer, so the PA announcer can announce to the crowd who scored the goal and who had the assists and at what time. I didn't know this, or I knew it, but I forgot. So the Storm score the first goal of the game. I think they ended up losing 3-1, but they score a goal. And I'm into my call, and I'm describing it as a power play goal. And then I got game ops just looking at me like, well. And I look down, I got this placard in front of me that I'm supposed to write with dry erase on: goal, assist. And I had no idea, man. I was it's completely out of my brain who touched the puck before the guy who scored the goal. So I just wrote down 2 numbers that I knew were on the ice. I'm like, it's going to have to be good enough. They came to me at the end of the period and said, hey, by the way, on that, don't worry if you get it wrong. We'll correct it on the tape before we send it to the league. So just don't worry if you get it wrong. I'm like, whew, that's a relief, because I know I got that wrong. I know I gave an assist to a guy who might have just gotten on the ice. But that's my
But he was on the ice.
He was. That was my one and only hockey play-by-play experience, major junior hockey with the Tri-City Storm. So fond memories of, I think it's the Viero Wireless Center up there. So do enjoy it if you do make it into the building to see some puck tonight. We got a little Royals talk to get to on the program here in this final hour, plus a look at what is on tap for the weekend to come. But we're going to start this 5 o'clock hour, as we always do, with some headlines. We began with a headline that we touched on as it was breaking during the last hour. The Kansas City Royals and first baseman Vinny Pasquantino have avoided an arbitration hearing, signing him instead to a 2-year contract worth more than $11 million guaranteed. The deal is pending a physical, per Ann Rogers of MLB.com. It covers Pasquantino's first 2 of his 3 arbitration-eligible seasons, 2026 and 2027. Incentives will allow the deal to max out at $16 million if Vinny hits all the benchmarks these next 2 years. That will give him 1 more year of arbitration eligibility in 2028, where he would then be able to negotiate with the team on what he would be paid that year before becoming a free agent in 2029. This is good for one big reason. And Vinny Pasquantino had kind of spoken about this on social media. The 2 sides in their arbitration filing were only $500,000 apart. Vinny and his representation filed at $4.5 million for salary for this season, and the Royals filed at $4 million. That $500,000 difference was going to bring the 2 sides to an arbitration hearing at which, and this is not like a shot at the Royals, this is just how arbitration hearings work. The team is trying to justify paying the player less than the player thinks he's worth. How do you do that? As Vinny Pasquantino put it, you sit there and you listen to the team that employs you tell you that you actually suck. Like that's what it really boils down to. So it's not real good for the relationship between the team and the player to go to these arbitration hearings. So the fact that the Royals have avoided that with one of their most popular players and one of their leaders, I think is an all-around positive. Resets the vibes a little bit with the Pasquatch going into 2026. And honestly, if he produces at the level he did last year with 30 home runs and 100 RBI, then the average salary that could max out to $8 million a year over the next 2 seasons, that's going to be a bargain.
Yeah, I think that this is good for everybody. You just don't let bad feelings go into spring training, which is now, God, days away at this point. You can count it down in difference in days. But anyway, what word am I looking for? It's Friday. Who cares? The discrepancy between where we are and when it starts, you can count down in days. Anywho, moving on. You're right. It kind of resets the vibe here. Vinny Pasquantino is not your best player. If you're the Kansas City Royals, obviously that's Bobby Witt Jr. He's just as popular as any Royal, I think, with this fan base and frankly around baseball, like very quickly. And he's a great social media presence and he's got a great personality and he's got a fun nickname. So all those things kind of go into it. But he's as popular of like a guy around baseball as anyone. And he's very open about talking about the inner workings of it and his view on advanced statistics, which I think is very forward thinking as far as players go. Jokes about being a Jets fan and all that stuff. Like, he's a great personality. That's not the kind of guy you want to piss off, just to be blunt about it. And not the kind of guy you want to have this very public, like, beef and issue with. So getting this done, there's an arbitration year at the back end of it, but just say, hey, look, we'll worry about that then. Let's get back to baseball. Let's keep the good feelings going. We'll have the guy in the costume walking around over the Hall of Fame. Like, this is where it needs to be. And look, if he ends up having 2 more years, like you said, Dan, where he's getting up near 30 home runs, he's hitting 100 or knocking in 100 RSBI, excuse me. Like, yeah, he's going to get a big fat payday in that final year of arbitration. Or before you even get to that year, you say, you know what? All right, 5 years. Let's do it, Vinny. Like, you're a Royal. You're a Royal forever. We'll make a new contract at that point. This just kind of resets your timeline. You don't have to worry about these things. Move on. I kind of think always, goes back to the teams that we pay the most attention to or have the emotional attachments to. When Jordan Love was waiting to get his 5th-year option picked up or declined, the Packers ended up giving him just a 2-year deal instead. And they said, you know what? We're not going to worry about the option. We're going to give you time to prove whether you've got the stuff or not, whether our plan worked. We're just going to give you a contract and a 2-year deal. So eat up that 4th year, eat the option year, and we'll judge it based on that. Worked out. Jordan Love's a franchise quarterback. Vinny Pasquantino, you hope, is a franchise cornerstone at a corner infield spot. This has given you plenty of time to evaluate, plenty of time for him to hopefully be healthy for a whole year, put up some big numbers, and earn himself a huge payday when he already would have been hitting free agency. So this feels like a big win for both sides. Incentives up to $16 million over 2 years. I think he's probably pretty happy about that at this stage of his career. So I've got absolutely no complaints, and I imagine Vinny's pretty content too.
Indeed. I think, like you said, it's the best thing it does is it restores that relationship between team and player. And that's really important when the player you're talking about is as much of a leader and as important to the fortunes of the team as Vinny Pasquantino is. Royals also made a minor transaction yesterday. It was official just after we went off the air, signing veteran right-handed reliever Eli Morgan to a minor league contract with an invite to spring training. Morgan spent last year with the Cubs, only made a handful of appearances before he injured his right elbow, and spent most of the season rehabbing that injury and recovering at AAA Iowa. Previous to that, he had spent 4 years with the Cleveland Guardians and was one of Tito Francona's more trusted relievers. Never quite had that same trust from Stephen Vogt in the 2024 season, hence why he was traded to the Cubs before 2025. Spent 1 year with the Cubs, was non-tendered, and now reunites with his pitching coach from Cleveland, Brian Sweeney, in rejoining the Royals organization. This one's personal for me. My family knows the Morgan family. My dad went to college with Eli's dad. They were roommates. They remain friends to this day. I play Stratomatic with Eli Morgan's dad. So I've been a fan of his since he was drafted out of Gonzaga in the 8th round by the Cleveland organization. So I'm really excited that Eli's in the Royals fold. He's a diminutive right-hander, doesn't throw super hard, has a great changeup. He has gotten big league hitters out. He's got a proven track record of success in the American League Central. I don't know that it will be competitive to earn a roster spot, but he's got an advocate at the big league level in Brian Sweeney, and I hope we get to see him at the K doing his thing this season. That's a Royal I can personally root for this season. I was really excited to see that news yesterday. Eli Morgan signing a minor league deal with the Royals. Those are your Royals headlines. It's 56 days. We're at 56 days until opening day.
Wow.
There have been 15 number 56s in Royals history. Hilariously, 5 of them were also Colorado Rockies. A full 1/3 of them, including Brian McRae, who was the first to wear the number with the team, and certainly the best of them. From a position player standpoint. Nate Field went to Barton Community College. He was number 56 for the Royals and also pitched for the Rockies. John Thompson made 2 starts with the Royals in 2007. He was a Rocky. Ramon Ramirez, who was traded for Jorge De La Rosa, he was a Rocky. He wore the number in 2008. And, of course, probably the best number 56 in franchise history, not even probably, Greg Holland, former Rocky as well. Of course, one of the great closers in club history and a 2015 world champion. Most recent to wear number 56, Hunter Harvey, the last 2 years. Let's get to another headline. What do you got, Brendan?
Dan, I'm going to piss you off, and I'm always love to be able to start a headline with that. It's not in our list in our show notes today, and you know what? I'm going to call my shot. I think I'm gonna make everyone else mad too. I think everybody who is involved in this program. I know I'm mad about this headline. I think everyone is going to be mad about this today. Dan, do you know the name Amari Bailey?
No, I don't.
Amari Bailey played his college basketball at UCLA in the 22-23 season. He has played 10 career games in the NBA. He has hired a lawyer and is trying to get college eligibility back. We knew this was coming. Everybody who has been following the James Nagy, the Charles Bediako, everybody who has been following all the G League guys, all the international guys coming in, everybody knew at some point someone who has played actual NBA games is going to try to do this. Well, guess what? Former UCLA Bruin Amari Bailey is attempting, according to Dan Murphy of ESPN, to become the first basketball player to return to college after playing in NBA games. Again, this from ESPN. The 21-year-old Bailey has hired an agent and a lawyer to prepare to fight for NCAA eligibility with hopes to join a college team and play one more season. He said he started to explore return to college earnestly in 2025, but has wondered whether there would be a way back to the NCAA since he was drafted in 2023. He said he made some mistakes as an 18-year-old freshman at UCLA with, quote, a lot to prove left on the table. Quote, right now I'd be a senior in college, he told ESPN. I'm not trying to be 27 years old playing college athletics. No shade to the guys that do. That's their journey. But I went to go play professionally, and I learned a lot, went through a lot. So, why not me? Oh, I have an idea. Because you are an NBA player. That's why. That's the exact reason why not you, Amari. Are you kidding me? The 6'3" guard played one season at UCLA before entering the 23 draft. He was a second-round pick of the Hornets, played 10 games for Charlotte in his rookie season on a two-way, and then spent 2 years in the G League before he was cut over the summer. His effort will be another substantial legal test for the NCAA's ability to enforce rules that decide who can play college sports when waivers and lawsuits have steadily eroded a ban on pros joining NCAA rosters.
So
what? Are you kidding me?
So
you're a you have been in the NBA. You have been at the pinnacle of the sport.
So I'm of two minds, I've decided, on all of this, because Andre Kostic for Kansas State played professional basketball in Europe at the highest level. And Ilyas Rapiak played professional basketball at the highest level in Germany. And there are other guys who are playing college basketball who have played professionally at the highest level that their country has to offer. And I don't think that there's that much of a distinction, at least not much of one that would hold up in court, between the highest level of professional basketball in Europe and the highest level of professional basketball in the United States, which is, of course, the NBA. I think that the NCAA's legal case is extremely flimsy. And I do think that, I think Charles Bediako is just going to play the rest of the year for Alabama. I think he's going to win his case. I think Amari Bailey would probably win his case too and be eligible to play for, I don't know, somebody, whoever Kansas State. Like whoever's got a scholarship and enough desperation, I think that he's going to be able to play. My disgust, and disgust maybe is too strong a word. My disappointment is in guys who made the decision with eyes wide open. I am going pro. I am going to play professional basketball. I am foregoing college. I'm done with college. I'm done with that level. I think I'm better than that level. That's why I'm going to pursue a professional career. That's the next step for me. Only to find out 2-3 years later, damn, these pros are real good. And I'm not quite that good. Maybe I need to go pro in something other than sports. Hey, can college take me back? Can I go back and play in college? Like, to me, that strikes me as extremely lame. It does. It's lame. It doesn't feel right. But at the same time, legally, I think these guys have recourse, and I think they're going to win all their cases. And like, what's to stop a 6-year NBA vet then from saying, hey, man, I'm going to go get a degree, but I would like to play some college basketball while I do it. And like,
so it's funny you say that. I've got a buddy who's doing some, he's covering Baylor. He's a freelance sports writer, but he's on the Baylor beat this season. And he and I are talking. He shoots me a text the other day and says, wow, they suck. And I said, yeah, they really do. But anyway, I'm not going to share his name just in case. But I said that, they deserve it because of the Najee thing, et cetera. He's not even good, et cetera. And he said, yeah, this is only going to get worse. I can't wait for the Raiders to be terrible next season. And then Mendoza says he wants to go back to college. Like, what's stopping guys at this point? Seriously, what is stopping them at this point? It's ridiculous, dude. And I'm with you. Like, how can you not feel shame? How can you not be so embarrassed? Because even if, like, Amari Bailey, if he gets cleared to go play another year of college basketball, he's obviously not going to care about the academic side of things. But if you're an adult, a guy who left college, you've played in the NBA, you've been, again, to the pinnacle of like American athletic success, and you decide, hey, I stunk at this, I'm going to go back to college so I can play and get a little of that NIL cash, and you waltz into like Chem 320, how do you not feel horrifically embarrassed?
Right? Have a little shame. Like that, at the end of the day, shame
should
be
just a little.
Like, if the courts can't keep you from playing, and I really do. I don't think the argument holds up in court that, the NCAA is going to make the argument, well, the NBA is different than like Pro Basket Liga 1 in whatever European country you want. And the court's just going to say, well, how? Like, pro basketball is pro basketball is pro basketball. So, and a pro paycheck is a pro paycheck is a pro paycheck. So I think they have a recourse. I think they'll win their cases, and I think they'll be able to play. I think shame should be a little bit more at play here. Like, how are you not Amari Bailey? You got there. You played 10 NBA games, and then you realize, oh, man, I guess I'm not the next Kobe Bryant. Maybe I can go get one more year of college basketball. Maybe I could just go play some college hoops.
Like, I can't imagine Cronin takes him back, but like, God, man, the NBA, that was tough. What about St. John's? Think Butler's looking for help? Like, come on, man.
The other thing that's so funny is, what do you always hear? What term do you always hear from coaches when they talk about the transfer portal and NIL? The term you hear more than any other, guardrails. We need guardrails on this thing. We got to have some guardrails, some common sense guardrails that put some boundaries on NIL and the transfer portal. And in the same breath, those coaches are going to go recruit kids who are playing in the NBA. What? Put some guardrails on your damn self.
One last thought on this, and then we rapid fire through a couple other quick ones from the NFL here. I was listening to Scott Van Pelt's podcast the other day. I think it's really enjoyable. And they were talking about the Bediako thing at Alabama, and Nate owes this quote that, we're just following the law. Like, yeah, the system is broken. He straight up said, yes, the system is broken. but we're just following the law. No, you're not. The law does not say you are required to do this. It just says it is something that could potentially happen. You are flaunting it completely.
Yeah, it's just double speak. It's ridiculous. But yeah, you would think that shame would be a more powerful deterrent. And then, like, this is a valid question, I think, from the 785. Does this mean that they are draft eligible again? I've never seen a player get drafted twice. Like, does the team that drafted Amari Bailey still maintain his draft rights? Like, what does that look like? Like, the NBA's not ready.
Yeah, is he going to go back to UCLA and suddenly Charlotte says, damn, we should have given him another try?
I don't understand it. We do have some NFL things to go through here, rapid fire here as we wrap up headlines. A couple of new offensive coordinators in the NFL. The Bills, Eagles, and Ravens have all chosen their new OCs. It'll be Pete Carmichael, who leaves Denver's staff to join Joe Brady in Buffalo. Sean Mannion, the quarterback's coach of the Packers, is the new OC in Philadelphia. And 29-year-old Declan Doyle will leave the Chicago Bears coaching staff to be the play caller in Baltimore under Jesse Minter. As an owner of the Green Bay Packers, Brendan, how do you feel about Sean Mannion?
I really like Sean Mannion. I mean, Jordan Love had a top, in terms of efficiency, he had a top 3 quarterback season this year. Didn't have the raw numbers because Green Bay runs the ball so much. But no, I think Matt LaFleur gets a lot of credit. Their OC, Adam Stenavich, does. But Sean Mannion is a fast rising star in the coaching realm. And there are a lot of Packers fans who are hoping that Stenavich might move on and Green Bay would promote him to OC. But he still wouldn't have been calling plays because that's always going to be a LaFleur thing. Now he gets to call plays. Good luck with that with Jalen Hurts. But I think it's a bummer for Green Bay, to be completely frank with you. I want to give a shout out real quick. I know we have a listener who's a huge Oregon State fan. I don't know their name. I know they've been a texter to the show on the text line before. I know for a fact we have a huge Beaver fan who is a listener to this show. So Sean Mannion news is just for you, listener from the 785. I've been thinking about you for years since you first texted the show. That's a news piece just for you.
Some other NFL news today. The Minnesota Vikings fired their general manager, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. They'll look for a new GM after the draft. They'll handle the draft process in-house. Diana Russini.
Heartbreaking.
Diana Russini of, I think of The Athletic, tweeted something to the effect of, people may think this was a surprise, but a lot of people saw this coming. And the reaction to that from other NFL insiders is, if I had known this was coming, I would have tweeted about it. So there's a bit of a source wars going on there with this story. But yeah, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, GM of the Vikings, fired. I think you could probably draw something like a straight line between this decision and Sam Darnold starting in the Super Bowl next Sunday.
That rumor is already percolating. I have seen that on social media today, that it's already Kevin O'Connell wanted Sam Darnold, Adolfo-Mensah wanted J.J. McCarthy, GM won out. Look where they are now. So not a surprise at all. There's some damage control. I'm going to miss Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. He could not draft to save his life. So really going to miss that in the NFC North.
And one last NFL headline following Super Bowl 60. Speaking of the Seattle Seahawks, the Seahawks will go up for sale. The team has always sought to be sold. After Paul Allen died in 2018, Jody Allen took over as the executor of the Paul Allen Trust. And the plan has always been to sell the team. Well, strike while the iron is hot, and the Seahawks have the world's attention as one of 2 participants in the upcoming Super Bowl. The anticipation is that the value of the Seahawks is in the neighborhood of $7 to $8 billion. Who has that kind of money that doesn't already own a team? Like,
I can name one guy.
Yeah. You can name a couple.
Well, I could name 2.
Okay.
I'll stick with just one. Bezos, he already owns the arena in Seattle. He already owns Climate Pledge.
He does. Hey, you know who else has a lot of money? His wife. Maybe
Now that would be funny.
His ex-wife. Yeah, maybe his ex-wife. Maybe Mackenzie beats him to it. But, yeah, Seahawks will be up for sale. Jody Allen probably up there. Every yard in that game is another, $1 million on the sale price. Oh,
I'm sure.
If they win big, she's up there thinking, I just banked at least $500 million more dollars. 31-13 is so much more valuable to me than 27-24 or whatever. Anyway, those are your headlines. When we come back, Something that is a little bit concerning to me about the 2026 Royals, a concern I just can't shake about the roster as presently constructed. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. .539 on 580 Sports Talk. With you until 6 o'clock. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski with you. High school basketball tonight, 580 Preps Game of the Week. 7:30 tip-off time. It's a single game tonight from the Capital City Classic. Shawnee Heights and Derby in girls basketball action.
Good one for Heights last night. That was there were a couple good games. I want to give a shout out to Topeka High, man. That's a really good Derby team, and Topeka High gave them a real fight last night.
Yeah, that was a good ball game. Shawnee Heights pulled away in the second half from Lawrence. It's 10 wins on the bounce for Bob Wells' squad, the Shawnee Heights girls, as they'll get a crack at Derby tonight. We'll have the call for you right here on 580 WIBW from the Capital City Classic at the Dungeon at Topeka High. So we were talking a little bit on the show yesterday about the Royals. Their preseason Zips projection now puts them at 83 wins. I haven't seen Pacoda yet, but the Zips projections have them at 83 wins, which is tied with Detroit at the top of the AL Central and ahead of Cleveland and Minnesota. And that feels about right, frankly, as far as the state of play entering 2026 with the rosters as currently constructed. But there's one thing about this Royals team that concerns me, maybe more than it might concern some others, and it's the bullpen. I look at this bullpen and I wonder if there are enough bat missers, guys who rack up strikeouts, to be a truly top-end bullpen. Because this is a team, I think there's a chance the offense improves. I think there will be some improvement based on the fences coming in, a jump in the numbers, but that's not just offensive improvement for the Royals because you're going to give some of that back on the other end too. But I think there's a decent chance that guys like Jack Caglione and Carter Jensen and Jonathan India could be at least a little better than they were last year. If not, in Cags' case, a lot better. I think there's a little bit more upside for the offense. I think the addition of Isaac Collins is a big deal, and that can help the lineup, a versatile bat who gets on base. And I like how the starting pitching is constructed, especially if you can get 25 starts from Cole Reagans and 25 starts from Chris Bubich. No guarantee after they didn't hit that benchmark last year, but Reagans had hit it the year before. If you get 25 starts, 150 innings from both of those guys, you're going to be in really good shape. But I worry about the bullpen because I'm concerned that they don't miss enough bats. And when you don't miss bats, when you don't have strikeout stuff, that means the other team is putting the ball into play. And the Royals, I think, have good defense, but if it's going to be a more offensive and home run friendly park in 2026, you'd like to be able to miss a few more bats. And there are guys in the bullpen that I think should have more strikeouts than they do. There's no way Steven Cruz, with that big fastball, should have a strikeout per 9 rate of like 7, which is where he sat last year. Lucas Erceg, same thing. Stuff's too good to not strike out more guys. 2 of the 3 best Royals pitchers in terms of strikeouts per 9 last year were Jonathan Bolin and Angel Zerpa. They're both gone. So those are your best strikeout arms last year. Now, the Royals have brought in 2 guys who've had a steady track record of above average strikeouts, like Matt Strahm and Alec Lang. They've got that kind of upside. But I feel like this bullpen needs more punch-outs. They need Erceg to strike out more guys. They need Nick Mears, who similarly to Erceg was a 10, 11 strikeouts per 9 inning guy in 2024 and dipped down to 7 strikeouts per 9 in 2025. They need those guys to miss bats at the level they've shown that they can do it before. And I especially think it's important because I don't think that Carlos Estevez's strikeout numbers are going to bounce back because I think he is on the decline, even though he led the American League in saves last year. I think he did that because he was pitching in a home run friendly environment and was able to keep the ball in the ballpark, even though he's a fly ball guy, because the ball doesn't travel and doesn't leave the park at Kauffman Stadium. I think he could be really hurt by the fences coming in. And I'm worried about his sustainability as the 9th inning guy in 2026. Bullpens are always finicky anyway. They're always subject to small sample fluctuations. Remember Sam Long, really reliable in 2024, unplayable in 2025.
Yeah.
Like that's life for a lot of relievers, the non-elite ones. So you need as many arms as you can pile up. And I think the Royals understand that. They've added some major league veterans to minor league deals to compete for spots. Hector Neris, Eli Morgan. I think that's important for depth. They've got some young arms they like a lot. Eric Sarantola. I think Luinder Avila could factor into the bullpen if the Royals don't need him as a starter this year. But the surest way to keep the other team from doing damage against you in close games, in late and close situations, keep them from hitting the ball at all. And this Royals bullpen doesn't do that enough, or at least on paper, they didn't do it enough last year. So they need some bounce backs. They need Erceg to get back to the bat misser he was in 2024. They need Nick Mears, who they got from Milwaukee in the Zerpa trade, to get back to the kind of bat missing he was doing. They need Alec Lang to get to the bat missing that he was doing before injury wiped out 2025. Because if they don't, if they've got a bunch more guys with K rates in the 7 and 8 per 9, that's sub-average for a relief pitcher, and that could make the bullpen, I think, susceptible to some blow-ups that could be costly for a team that plays in a lot of low-scoring games.
you don't need superstars in the bullpen. And like if you have a Mo Rivera, like, sure, obviously that's great. You don't, and if you have an HDH, that's great. You don't need that to have a successful bullpen right now. But having guys who miss bats, that is huge. You know, I think of a former Royal who played in the Cubs bullpen last year, got a multi-year deal this offseason from Philadelphia. That's Brad Keller. We know the downs that can come with Brad Keller the longer you use him or if you have him in a starting role. He was awesome last year in the pen. He was missing bats and he was throwing heat by guys. And, you know, what's the old line, Dan, that every reliever is a failed starter?
Yes.
Like, yeah, it didn't work out for him after the first couple of years. But when you only need to get 3 outs, 3 to 5 batters out of him, he can throw all of his best stuff, burn it up, see you in 2 days. Like, you can, and that was a reclamation project for the Cubs. There's a million stories. That's just one I think of with a former Royal and a most recently Cub, but there's a million stories like that. You just need to find the right combination of guys. The concern for me for the Royals is they've tried a number of them, and you're not getting more than 1 year out of them. This could be a multi-year guy in the pen. Well, you got 1 year and then one that's not so much. Like, I think Urseg's going to bounce back. I think you're going to get much better stuff out of Urseg. I'd be surprised if Long doesn't bounce back at least somewhat.
Yeah, Urseg was good last year. He just wasn't great because he wasn't missing bats. Like, that's the difference. That's the thing. Like, Urseg was reliable and he got results, but he wasn't the Terminator like he was in 2024 when he took over the closer role in that run to the playoffs, because he wasn't missing bats in the same way. That's the separator. That's what can take these guys. Like, they have guys who've succeeded without striking out, like, high volume guys, like John Schreiber. John Schreiber's been a ground ball guy. He was a little home run prone last year. I worry about that trend if it continues. But he's not a guy that needs to strike out a bunch of guys to succeed. He knows himself and he knows how to pitch. But guys like Urseg and Mears and Lang and Strom, those guys have been their most successful when they miss a bunch of bats. They stop doing that or can't get back to doing that, then all of a sudden that bullpen situation looks a little bit more shaky. We got to take a break. We're overdue for another break. We're going to come back and talk about what's on tap for a sports weekend without football on 580 Sports Talk. All right, really quick. We're short on time on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Outside of KU-BYU, game of the day on Saturday in college basketball. And, of course, outside of the Washburn Ichabod's taking on the UNK Lopers in Kearney. Brendan Dworzinski, what sporting event are we most looking forward to on our first football-free weekend before the Super Bowl?
The NFL Throwback YouTube channel. 3 hours of the funniest pick sixes you've ever seen. I'm sure that's a video they've got up there.
Man, I wish it was.
That's a great question. I saw one the other day. It was like every team's most heartbreaking turnover. I thought, there's no chance you could make me watch this because for the 30 seconds of my team, it's going to ruin my whole week. No way am I watching this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no chance. I would never watch anything like that. I'll probably watch a little more college basketball. The KU-BYU is the marquee game. Illinois and Nebraska is a big game on Sunday that I'll make some time for. Check the leaderboard of the Farmers Insurance Open. They got PGA Tour action. Brooks Koepka. He's back on the tour. Looks like he's going to make the cut. He's way off the pace. Last I looked, Justin Rose had a 4-stroke lead. But it's always nice to watch golf at Torrey, and it's nice and warm in San Diego, and to imagine that time of year being here and that kind of weather being here. So check out a little of the golf and some college hoops. We get some listeners saying they're checking out UFC 325. I know nothing about that, but if that's your thing, God bless you. Hope you enjoy it. Also, is the Royal Rumble this weekend?
Yeah, I love the Rumble. The whole Saudi Arabia thing has kind of soured me on the product these days. They're holding it in Riyadh.
I thought it was Riyadh.
Maybe. I don't know. Again, kind of soured on it these days.
There might be consequences for getting that wrong.
No, there might be. By the way, one college basketball game I'm at least going to try to keep an ear on. I'll be driving home from Kearney. St. Mary's isn't great this year, but they always give Gonzaga a battle. St. Mary's at Gonzaga at the Kennel. Those two are going to be conference mates for all that much longer, so I'm going to savor that one. That should be a good battle. Those two always play good games.
NASCAR Clash is this Sunday as well at Bowman Gray Stadium. The Cookout Clash. It's sponsored by Cookout, so you know it's going to be good.
All right, I'll watch it because it's Cookout sponsored.
Final word coming up next. We got about 15 seconds apiece for a final word. Brendan Dworzinski, what do you got?
All right, first, KU versus BYU. I'll take the home team. I think these two are dead even, so I will take the Jayhawks at Allen Fieldhouse. And if you've got the time, listen to some Ichabod's basketball this weekend, guys. Best team in the country in D2. Give us a listen. Country 106.9.
KU-BYU, I think it's going to come down to KU's bigs. If Badunga and Tiller play well, I think KU will win. If they don't, I think it's going to be a struggle for the Jayhawks. We're back on Monday from 3 until 6. High school basketball tonight, Shawnee Heights and Derby at 7:30. For Brendan Dworzinski and Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. This was 580 Sports Talk. Have a great weekend. Good night.